Warning! This video has spoilers, so if you haven't seen Brightburn yet, go watch it and then come back and watch me. So if you're still here, let's get into it. Brightburn, the evil, kind of sort of alternate version evil Superman movie that came out, is still out, had a 70% drop in its second weekend, indicating that a lot of people, that's pretty steep, weren't really feeling this movie. Even though I thought the movie was pretty good, and I thought that James Gunn and his brother and his cousin, I think those were the people, the other Gunns who worked on the movie with him, and director David Yarevsky, I forget how to say his last name. I thought they did a good job. I thought that Brightburn was a nice dark thriller and an interesting tale on the Superman story, the Superman myth, what if Superman was evil? Even though it has nothing to do with DC and isn't connected to like Warner Brothers or the worlds of DC or the DCU or anything. I thought it was cool. And I'm not someone who's opposed to people doing alternate versions of superheroes if it's not connected to the main, cinematic universe. Because then, it won't be confusing, right? I don't think anybody thinks that Brightburn is like is connected to the DCU or anything, or is a Warner Brothers movie. Because it's not, it's Sony, and it's completely unconnected. So I'd be cool if people made movies like those exploring, like an evil Captain America, an evil Wonder Woman, an evil whoever. I think that's cool. But, I guess a lot of other people didn't feel the same way because the movie underperformed. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the expectation is for a movie that only cost $6 million to make. If Brightburn makes like 30 or 40, it should make, before it leaves theaters, that is a profit. But, I don't really know if a movie that only makes that much is going to get a sequel. It could. If it would, I'd be happy. But I think that the 70% drop and the relatively low box office performance does say a lot about, how people felt about that movie. And indirectly, I think it says something about the way people think about Superman as a character and how they want to see Superman on screen. But first, what it says about the way they thought about the movie. I think that Brightburn, I thought it worked great as a dark, thriller, dark sci-fi, or a horror movie. But I think that the ending was really depressing, was the bad guy wins, basically. And I guess a lot of people didn't want to see that. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people were kind of like, I'm not really feeling this movie. I think they were expecting or wanting someone in the family like Elizabeth Banks to find a way to defeat him, to take him down, because, the movie, even though he's the main character, I felt the movie was always honest about the fact that he was an evil person and you're not supposed to root for him. So I think people were expecting him to be taken out by the end, and he wasn't. He survived. And I don't think people like, too many dark and depressing endings. So I think that's one of the reasons why the movie had a relatively low cinema score and, a huge drop. Well, yeah, pretty steep drop off, and maybe won't make as much money as, people I might have expected. I thought that Brightburn could surprise and overperform, but it didn't. But I think one of the reasons is the ending. I think the dark ending kind of harmed its word of mouth. I didn't mind the dark ending because I'm open to Brightburn. I'm cool with people doing a story about, what if the bad guys win. But it looks like a lot of other people weren't, at least not in a Superman type story. Which leads me to my next point, what this movie's performance says about how people feel about Superman. I think that people like Superman so much and they're so attached to that classic, image from the Christopher Reeves films and the way he was in the Dean Cain show and, Smallville, that they don't want to see evil Superman. I think people really want to see, a return to the glorious Superman they want. I think people are waiting for that kind of Superman. I mean, Henry Cavill gave a good performance, but I think they didn't like, the dark, brooding kind of Superman that Zack Snyder created. I mean, I felt I understood what Zack Snyder was trying to do with Superman, but people didn't want that. And I think one of the things that they responded to in Justice League, even though Justice League was pretty much maligned by a lot of people, one of the parts that people enjoyed was Superman, except for the mustache gate. But they liked the way he was written and portrayed. And so I think people are rejecting, evil Superman or, an evil Superman type character or, alternate Superman. They want the real, true Superman to return. Ideally, I think most people would like him to return as played by Henry Cavill, but they still want him back. I mean, look at the way that Tyler Hoechlin Superman has been received on Supergirl. A lot of people don't necessarily like the way he's written on Supergirl, but he's more in line in terms of personality and, with what they expect from Superman, right? They like the portrayal, the way he's written, the tone and the way the actor embodies him, if not so much the storyline decisions they make with his character. You know, the response to Tyler Hoechlin's version of Superman and that version of Superman as written has been overwhelmingly warm and positive, which means that people are ready. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these same people who could have showed up to the theater for Brightburn didn't. They rejected, you know, the dark Superman, even though it's not really Superman. But everybody knows what Brightburn is. It's a what-if tale. You know, what if Superman was evil? You know, that wasn't something they wanted. I don't think people really want. They don't want to see Superman deconstructed or, you know, a different version. They want to see the real, true Superman in theaters again. And he's not here yet. And I think people are waiting for him. And, you know, Brightburn, even though it was a different flavor of Superman, they didn't want that. I'm not even sure that they'll even like the Superman Red Sun we've been hearing rumored about, right? With the whole DCU Elseworlds, or I don't know, Black DC or whatever they'll call it, you know, where they do different versions of characters. I don't think they're going to want to see, you know, Russian Superman either. You know, Superman. They want to see the real Superman. You know, the one in Metropolis, raised by the Kents, who's, you know, in love with Lois, and they want him to be more in spirit with the classic Superman in terms of personality and vibe. And, you know, I think that the fact that audiences rejected Brightburn, that's one of the reasons. Although I'm not saying I didn't like Brightburn, I wanted it to fail or have any problems with James Gunn. I like Brightburn. I still think James Gunn is talented. And I was expecting and would have been happy if Brightburn had made, you know, a truckload of money. They still might even make a Brightburn 2. I mean, the movie only cost $6 million to make. I don't think they spent that much advertising it. I mean, not off of a $6 million budget. So, you know, if the movie makes 30 or 40 before it leaves theaters, or 20, I guess, 25. I guess it's a profit. We'll see. I don't know if it'll be enough for them to make a Brightburn 2. But, you know, that's how I feel. That's how I feel about Brightburn, what its performance means about how people feel about Superman in general. And I think it's another sign that people really want the real Superman back. When Warner Brothers decides to give him to us again, who knows? But I think when he does come back, if he comes back, people will welcome him. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.